Hey guys, Brockshield here, bringing you a Paladin world first, a sustainable solo single pull of the entire SM Cath dungeon in classic World of Warcraft. Before we describe the mechanics of how this solo pull came to be, if you could please support the channel by subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated as it would really help me out. Thank you. I wanted to say that my inspiration for initially playing World of Warcraft and the Paladin class in particular was back in 2007. There was a Paladin called WoW Hobbs, whose SM Cath video I first saw, where he would pull the dungeon at level 63 along with his friends and they would AoE the dungeon down together. Ever since I saw WoW Hobbs, he inspired me to utilize the quote-unquote Hobbs way of pulling that you see here. I've never spoken to or interacted with WoW Hobbs in any way. I just wanted to say it's amazing how 13, 14 years later, that inspiration has driven so much of the motivation and the passion I feel for pushing the Paladin class as far as it can go in this AoE style of pulling. So thank you WoW Hobbs for getting it started in many ways for all of us Paladins. With that said, a bit of the mechanics of how this all comes together now. You see, the standard gathering of all the mobs is the same as in every other run that I would have shown on my channel. In addition to that, you'll see in the top right hand corner, I'm using the same generic elixirs I've used in some of my previous videos, along with the druid buffs from my level 53 druid alt who just sits outside of the dungeon. At this point here, instead of going down to fight the mobs, you see I pan my camera out because I need to see how close they are to me. Now that they're down further on the steps, I use a swiftness potion, which I need to get to the doors to open them while preserving my bubble because I'll need that within the cathedral. Now this is still a close call, but with the swiftness potion, when you line it up correctly, you have a little bit even room for error there to open the door safely. At this point, I do not head in, of course, as you see. The reason for that is something I'll show you after this pull is done, where we go through the theory crafting of how this all comes together. When any of us see a final product of a world first like this for the Paladin class, a lot of theory crafting went into it, and you'll see that after this. Right now I'm stalling the mobs not once but twice here on the waterfall. The reason is because I need my potion cooldown to come back up once again. So same strategy. I stall them once more because to keep it simple, I just need that potion cooldown to come up again. Now that it's reached well under a minute, it's time to head into the dungeon. This pull works because of the fundamental gear and mechanics that I've mentioned in some of my previous videos. I use 7 out of 8 pieces of tier 2, with the exception being my chest piece. For my chest, I use the Demon Forge breastplate, which has a lifesteal effect, 3% chance on being struck, which scales with spell power, just like Skullflame Shield. The results of all of that spell power in every gear slot, my trinkets, rings, etc., all my gear, along with the lifesteal, culminates in what you see here. Unbelievable. My health is just standing still, going up, simply because of this combination of gear and testing. I hope you enjoyed the light show there. You also saw a Goblin Saber charge be used, as well as the Oil of Immolation. Now, at this point here, the reason I needed to save that potion by stalling is because these mobs, when they run back, they go ahead and they strike me for a lot of damage. So you see there, I use a limited invulnerability potion in order to protect myself from their melee attacks. And in that time, my last consecration will bring them down. Thus, when they would strike me all together at once, bringing me down, the lip protects me, my consecrate deals out the damage, voila. No lay on hands, no unsustainable consumables used. This works run after run after run. A true solo one pull of the entire SM Cath dungeon, a world first in this style for a Paladin. In this manner, once you clean up the mobs, you'll need to loot before you kill the bosses. The reason is simple. The loot will despawn. It just takes quite a bit of time to go through this loot, so you want to make sure you grab it now, regardless of how close the boss is to being down. Simply for evidence, I have logged the kill here of the final strikes against Mograine. And there it is. All the combat and looting is done under 8 minutes, and the run out of the dungeon is done in 8 minutes and 52 seconds here, as you'll see when we zone out of the dungeon. Now I want to show you some of the theory crafting behind how these kinds of pulls come together. You'll see here in the top left hand corner of my screen, my alt Denarius is waiting upstairs on this part of the pull as we enter the cathedral. So to try this pull for the first time, I had Denarius open the doors while I rounded up all the mobs. You see no potion has been used, so Denarius opened the door for me, my alt. I run in, aggro all the mobs, and start the AoE thinking that Denarius will have to heal me, as I don't know yet that this can be done solo. So you just want to take it slow and steady when you test. Don't jump straight to the deep end, die, and think that you can work your way backwards. Build your way up little by little to see where you can push it. Denarius runs up, but at this point I realize, bubbling early because I'm not 100% sure what will happen, I realize that I didn't think I needed Denarius. I see that my health really isn't going down after bubble wears off much, and it dawns on me that what if I just depend on the lifesteal items I have? And the answer, it all comes together, the answer clicks for me. When I drag all of the mobs from the courtyard up, none of them themselves can heal each other, but when they strike me, they increase the chances of the RNG that I get healed. So bringing more of those mobs up doesn't hurt me, it helps me. And that's when it dawned on me. So I go ahead and I clean up this pull with Denarius here, and I realize that I can complete this pull solo. And now I need to find out how exactly that can happen. So on to the next batch of theory crafting. Here you see, I head into the dungeon solo. Instead of juking them around the waterfall, I just straight use the swiftness potion. Because I think at this point in time, I don't know the correct formula, but I know that I can probably do it solo. And I know that I need a gap in the mobs to open the door. So I use the swiftness potion. And as you can see here, there's a tremendous amount of space. The mobs, there's quite a bit of room for error there, as you see. Okay, so good news, I'm within the cathedral here. But, as you just saw, I used my potion, so no limited invulnerability potion. How is this going to go for me? Let's find out. Things are going well so far. The light show is in full effect, and my health is quite high. I'm feeling good about where I am with this pull right now, and I finally have to bubble after these mobs have taken quite a bit of damage. I go through the same process with Oil of Immolation, Sapper Charge, Consecrate, and I realized that I might actually have the pull here. Now, remember back to when those mobs would rush back to me and I used the limited invulnerability potion? Here's where I learned how important that potion would actually be. When all of these mobs run back to me, if I don't have a way of protecting myself from that damage, you see here I use Lay on Hands. And I know then and there the pull isn't sustainable, even though this pull would go on to work. That led me to go ahead and implement a strategy where I didn't use the potion at all. What if I could just open the door immediately without using a potion? Could I have enough space between me and the mobs? The answer, as you saw, is no, I couldn't. So with that in mind, that theory crafting, run after run after run of different ideas, building on the successes of the past runs, where their shortcomings were, and how I could learn what I needed to do to solve the problem at hand, is how all of the steps of completing the Paladin world first sustainable solo single pull of the entire SM Cath dungeon came to be. This was truly an enjoyable process from start to finish, and I am super excited to share these runs with other players on the server. I can't say thank you enough to everybody who not only helped me in the game, yes, but to all of you watching these videos. If you've enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps the channel out very much. With that in mind, thank you for watching. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.